two good mates, Don Henley and Glenn Frey, and they made unforgettable music. Hotel California, Take It to the Limit, one of these nights. For 45 years, through bust-ups and reunions, their friendship survived. But earlier this year, the remarkable partnership ended tragically.
What happens when a lifelong creative partnership suddenly ends? For Don Henley, losing Glenn Frey in 2016 wasn't just the death of a bandmate, it was the closure of an era that shaped American music. Their story is about friendship, rivalry, and a bond so profound that it can only be felt in absence. Henley's journey since Frey's passing is marked by quiet honor and a refusal to replace what was lost. How does one carry the weight of a legendary legacy while grappling with the silence left behind? The answer lies within their music and the spaces between Henley's words. The impact of Frey's death. The death of Glenn Frey on January 18, 2016, was a profound blow not only to fans around the world, but also deeply personal for Don Henley. Frey's passing wasn't sudden to those close to him. His battle with rheumatoid arthritis, ulcerative colitis, and pneumonia had been ongoing, but the finality still came as a shock. For Henley, Frey was more than a bandmate. He was like a brother, a creative partner tied to his identity for over 4 decades. The weight of that loss echoed in Henley's silence at first, signaling grief that words could not yet fully express. In the immediate aftermath, Henley's public statement was simple, avoiding cliches or grandiose eulogies. "He was like a brother to me," he wrote. This brief message carried layers of meaning, acknowledging a bond forged through triumphs, struggles, conflict, and reconciliation. More than just a tribute, it was a recognition that the Eagles as a band, and Henley himself, would never quite be the same. The emptiness left behind wasn't just a void in the music, it was a loss of shared history and mutual understanding. Since 2016, Henley's mourning has been quiet and respectful, rather than performative. Unlike many who seek the spotlight in grief, he avoided tearful television interviews or special releases that capitalized on public sympathy. Instead, he chose to honor Frey by maintaining the integrity of their music, in every note sung on stage and in every performance given by the Eagles. This subtle approach communicated an unspoken truth. Some relationships are too complex to be easily replaced or publicly dramatized. Henley's emotional restraint highlights how essential Frey was to the band's core. On stage, mentions of Frey were met with silent pauses, letting absence speak louder than words. When Frey's son, Deacon Frey, stepped forward to sing "Take It Easy," Henley's gaze would drift toward the wings, a fleeting look that betrayed hope and longing. Deacon's presence served as a fragile bridge connecting past and present, a way for Henley to keep his friend's spirit alive without pretending replacement was possible. The death also reshaped Henley's role within the band. No longer sharing equal footing with Frey, Henley found himself shouldering the responsibility of guarding the legacy they had built together. His approach became about stewardship, carefully curating the band's identity while navigating the inevitable changes brought by time and loss. That responsibility wasn't just professional. It was deeply personal, rooted in loyalty and the desire to protect what Frey had helped create. To many observers, Henley became more withdrawn after Frey's passing, choosing to focus on the music and the band's ongoing tour rather than engaging in broader conversations about the Eagles' future. This focus suggested a man still processing profound grief, balancing the demands of performance with the private task of mourning. His quiet leadership contrasted with the vibrant, sometimes contentious dynamic he once shared with Frey, showing how grief can reshape even the most public of lives. The absence of grand tributes or memorial events further underscored Henley's preference for subtle remembrance. Instead of spectacle, he preferred that every lyric and melody carry the memory of Frey forward. In a sense, the Eagles' concerts became living memorials, spaces where fans could feel the presence of both men through the power of their shared music. This choice preserved dignity and respect, while allowing room for personal and collective mourning. Ultimately, the impact of Frey's death ripples through every aspect of Henley's life and work. It challenged him to redefine himself while honoring a lifelong partnership that defined not only his career, but also his identity. The loss marked an ending, and, paradoxically, the beginning of a new chapter forged through memory, responsibility, and unspoken connection. While loss is stark, the roots of Henley and Frey's relationship stretch back to a moment in time that laid the foundation for everything that followed. Early friendship and formation. Don Henley and Glenn Frey first crossed paths in the vibrant music scene of early 1970s Los Angeles, a meeting that would change American music forever. Henley had moved from Texas, bringing his band Shiloh into the city's creative swirl, while Frey was making his mark coming from Detroit and performing on the Long Beach Peninsula. Their meeting at the Troubadour, a legendary venue known for launching careers, sparked not just a friendship, but the birth of a shared vision. Their connection went beyond camaraderie. It was a fusion of compatible work ethics, musical tastes, and ambitions. Both were signed to record labels associated with David Geffen, a future key figure in the Eagles' formation. As they toured together backing Linda Ronstadt in 1971, Henley and Frey's artistic chemistry became undeniable. Those months on the road forged a bond strong enough to birth the idea of an independent band. As of September 1971, the Eagles had already been made official with their contract with Asylum Records and had already carved their niche in the music world. Frey played the guitar and sang the lead, while Henley played drums and sang some of the rhythm. The two soon became the main songwriting trio of the band, co-writing Take It Easy and Witchy Woman with Jackson Browne. Their initial style was a melting pot of country rock and a carefree Californian vibe that later became the signature of the genre. From day one, Frey played the role of the designer, determining the band's objectives, production choices, and image, while Henley concentrated on songwriting and lyrical depth. This interaction, a push and pull of vision and substance, turned out to be the secret ingredient to their success. On one hand, Frey's tactical leadership, and on the other hand, Henley's artistic introspection together formed a solid ground for the Eagles' musical identity. Their initial release soon rocketed to stardom, with a number of remarkable singles, which opened the gates to a career filled with innovations and recognition. In 1973, Desperado, the band had already settled on a concept of storytelling through Western imagery. Though the album was not an instant commercial success, it represented a big shift in Henley and Frey's aspirations to produce music with significance beyond just making hits. The partnership of the two artists was such that it combined Frey's position as the major producer and the leader of the band with Henley's preoccupation with the message and emotional connection of the song. This artistic division of labor made it possible for each of the two to bring the other's strengths up. At the same time, of course, toning down the weaknesses and opening up new musical avenues. It was a partnership that was not only characterized by friendship, but also by a high degree of mutual professional respect. The Eagles' rising popularity not only increased their power, but also their role in the development of the California sound trend, which was a mix of rock, folk, and country. Their music could be heard everywhere: the radio, television, and practically in the background of American life during the 1970s. The very early years of Henley and Frey's partnership played a crucial role in this widespread cultural impact. However, a constant struggle between their different characters and priorities went on all the time regarding the success of the band. The band's story of the artist's whole tested the balance time after time, but in the end, it became the very heart of the Eagles' everlasting story. Their early friendship was indeed the beginning of a band, but also of a creative alliance that would both provide sustenance and challenge to the duo. That delicate balance of cooperation and tension would soon shape the band's internal struggles and creative breakthroughs. Creative partnership and tensions. The creative partnership between Don Henley and Glenn Frey was a potent mix of collaboration and conflict, with their opposing styles driving much of the Eagles' success as well as their inner struggles. Frey was assertive, outgoing, and strategic. A natural leader focused on professionalism, control, and pushing the band toward commercial success. Henley, in contrast, was introspective, deeply focused on lyrical content and emotional authenticity, often prioritizing creative freedom over polished image. This dynamic fueled a constant tension, but also a complementary energy that produced some of the most memorable music of their era. Their differing perspectives forced the band to constantly negotiate between substance and style, art and business. Frey set the goals and controlled much of the band's direction, while Henley ensured the message and feeling remained at the core. Together, they shaped the Eagles' unique identity. The pressures mounted especially after the massive success of their 1976 album, Hotel California. External expectations combined with internal disagreements created a high-stress environment. Frey's drive for a more professional, tightly controlled band clashed with Henley's desire for creative exploration and emotional depth. The delicate balance between commercial appeal and artistic expression became a source of ongoing friction. One of the most public flashes of this tension involved lead guitarist Don Felder, who later described the band leadership as a musical dictatorship run by Henley and Frey. The power struggle left other members feeling sidelined, culminating in Felder's dismissal in 2001 after a bitter legal battle. This highlighted how Henley and Frey effectively ruled the band as equals, holding authority over decisions and direction. Despite these clashes, both men acknowledged the rivalry as integral to their creativity. Frey once said in a 2012 interview that the quiet competition with Henley kept them from settling for mediocrity. They continuously pushed each other to write better songs and explore new ideas. That tension ultimately resulted in a blending of their strengths, producing a body of work that resonated widely and stood the test of time. Yet, this partnership was fraught with personal disagreements that spilled behind the scenes and on stage. By 1980, the strain became unsustainable, and after a tumultuous performance in Long Beach, the Eagles disbanded. Henley famously declared, "The Eagles will never get back together again when hell freezes over," signaling a deep rupture. Ironically, this phrase became the title of their eventual 1994 reunion album and tour. The creative push and pull between Henley and Frey defined both the peaks and valleys of the Eagles' journey. Their ability to clash while creating timeless music set them apart, but also sowed the seeds of separation. The story of their partnership is one of extremes: intense collaboration shadowed by equally intense conflict. Understanding these tensions offers insight into why their relationship was both so productive and so fragile, and how their eventual reconciliation would become a powerful chapter in the band's history. That reconciliation, sparked years later, showed that even the deepest conflicts could give way to understanding and shared purpose. Breaking up and going solo. By 1980, the mounting tensions and creative differences within the Eagles had reached a breaking point. The pressures of fame, clashing personalities, and unresolved disputes culminated after a show in Long Beach, where the group decided to part ways. Don Henley's famously blunt declaration that "the Eagles will never get back together again when hell freezes over" captured the depth of the fracture. At that moment, the band seemed finished, victims of both their own success and internal discord. Separated, both Henley and Glenn Frey faced the challenge of redefining themselves outside the shadow of the Eagles. Henley chose a deeply personal and introspective path, using his solo career to explore social consciousness and emotional storytelling. Albums like Building the Perfect Beast from 1984 and The End of the Innocents in 1989 revealed a mature artist willing to critique cultural and political landscapes. Hits like The Boys of Summer and Dirty Laundry showcased Henley's keen ability to blend catchy melodies with sharp commentary, solidifying his place as a significant solo artist. Glenn Frey, by contrast, leaned into a more mainstream pop-rock sound accessible to a broad audience. His soundtrack hits like The Heat Is On from Beverly Hills Cop and You Belong to the City, popularized by Miami Vice, demonstrated his talent for creating radio-friendly tunes that matched the era's aesthetic. Frey also expanded his artistic pursuits into television and film, further displaying his versatility. His ability to command the entertainment spotlight remained intact, but with a lighter commercial touch, compared to Henley's more introspective style. Though they took different paths, the two stars still showed great respect for each other and stayed away from the public quarrels that are usually the case with band breakups. It was a period of separation, not of animosity, as neither the one nor the other, Henley or Frey, spoke ill of the other. This polite division still left open the door of trade-off reconciliation, although it was very difficult given of being next to the main stage where the usual hatred lurked. During the 1980s, while the music industry underwent rapid changes, each man's artistry was also evolving. Henley's work was highly regarded and reached a wide audience, thus showing the world a very sophisticated and contemplative musician who was really engaged in his art. On the other hand, Frey was still making the very much upbeat, and thus more accessible, hits, winning the audience's hearts, and, at the same time, creating an identity which was not dependent on the Eagles' one. These two parallel solo careers were the main reason why both artists could mature, albeit independently, but their common past still kept on subtly emerging from underneath. The years that separated them made them think, both about the Eagles' past and the future of the band. Although the silence created by the split was a loss deeply felt by fans, it was simultaneously a period of necessary growth and maturation for Henley and Frey. Their destiny, being "hell freezes over," was increasingly doubted by subtle signs and quiet chats. What they once had, the bond, was put through the test, but it was not completely shattered. The eventual reunion was set up by more than just nostalgia and financial incentives. It was, above all, Frey's feeling that the Eagles' story was not yet complete. Frey saw the opportunity, made the first move, and contacted the other band members, gradually weaving the strands of a possible comeback together. His unyielding optimism regarding the band's healing and creative powers would turn out to be decisive. Henley's early reluctance transformed into careful esperanza, realizing that the parties might not only get back together professionally, but also personally. Thus, a reunion was drawn that was not based on youthful dreams, but on a mature consciousness, a recognition that it was possible to have differences coexisting together with a common goal. The band was thus restored, and the Eagles were given a second life that was in line with their legacy, while at the same time accepting new realities. The whole process from splitting up to getting together again involved the same themes of triumph in difficulty, the unbreakable bond of forgiveness, and the connection that creativity lasts. The struggles that had once been thought to be insurmountable got replaced by a new kind of relationship, one in which Henley and Frey could each take the lead and also cooperate in a wiser manner. Not only would this comeback be a renewal of the Eagles' music, but also the confirmation of the musicians' partnership's lasting strength. This rebirth prepared the band for success not just in music, but in mending relationships that once threatened to unravel. The reunion and renewed bond. In 1994, after 14 years apart, the Eagles surprised fans and the music world with their reunion, aptly named "Hell Freezes Over," a nod to Henley's earlier, resolute declaration. What once was a firm ending transformed into a new beginning. The reunion launch was more than a commercial comeback. It was a poignant testament to the power of reconciliation and shared history. It offered both band members and fans a chance to heal wounds lingering from the past. The driving force behind this remarkable reunion was Glenn Frey himself. Frey took the lead in reaching out to former members, inviting them to rekindle what had once made the Eagles extraordinary. His belief that the band had unfinished business spoke to his enduring commitment to the group's legacy. Henley, initially reserved, soon embraced the opportunity, acknowledging that the music and their connection still mattered deeply. The extensive tour and album that followed proved to be both commercially successful and personally meaningful. Beyond ticket sales, the reunion marked a renewed sense of balance between Henley and Frey. No longer youthful adversaries locked in power struggles, they matured into partners who recognized the value of their differences. Their ability to coexist peacefully on stage became a symbol of growth and respect. Creative disagreements didn't disappear entirely, but their approach to conflict changed dramatically. They learned to work through disagreements with patience and understanding rather than confrontation. The lessons hard-earned in the years apart gave way to a collaboration enriched by history and empathy. This maturity shaped the band's sound and public image for years to come. During this period, Frey continued to shoulder organizational responsibilities, handling tours, production plans, and logistics, while Henley focused on musical quality and lyrical content. This division of labor reflected the complementary roles that defined their creative partnership from the start. Together, they preserved the integrity of the Eagles' legacy while navigating the changing music industry landscape. In 2007, the band released Long Road Out of Eden, their first studio album in nearly 3 decades. It was a commercial success and a fitting continuation of their storied career. While new songwriting gradually slowed, extensive tours ensured that the Eagles remained a dominant live act. Millions of fans around the world continued to celebrate their music, proving the lasting appeal of their timeless sound. The reunion years also brought a deepened personal connection between Henley and Frey. Years of conflict and separation melted into a bond strengthened by shared history and mutual respect. Henley came to openly credit Frey as the one who never gave up, the spark who reignited their collective fire and kept the Eagles' spirit alive. Their relationship transcended past tensions to become a true partnership once again. Frey's death in 2016 marked the closing of this chapter, but Henley's role in carrying forward their legacy became clearer than ever. The reunion had forged a foundation strong enough to endure the inevitable loss, rooted in history, honesty, and emotional truth. It also redefined what it meant to be a band, not just a group of musicians, but a family navigating life's changes together. This renewed bond, and the work it inspired, allowed the Eagles to live on, not just on stage, but in the hearts of their fans, and through the memories Henley preserves. From fractured beginnings to a mature reunion, the story between Henley and Frey is a testament to endurance, reconciliation, and the unbreakable power of music. As the echoes of this reunion fade into the future, the legacy of their partnership continues to resonate deeply with all who listen. Frey's declining health and death. Glenn Frey's health began declining noticeably in late 2015, posing challenges not only for him personally, but for the entire Eagles organization. His battle with rheumatoid arthritis and ulcerative colitis severely weakened him, and complications from pneumonia ultimately proved fatal. Though these struggles had been ongoing, many hoped he would recover enough to continue performing and recording. Sadly, his condition deteriorated faster than anyone anticipated. The impact of Frey's failing health quickly became apparent, as several scheduled tours and appearances were canceled or postponed. One significant loss was the Eagles' planned tribute performance at the 2015 Kennedy Center Honors, a prestigious event that could not go forward without his participation. This absence underscored the seriousness of Frey's decline, striking a somber note among fans and bandmates alike. For Don Henley, news of Frey's illness was especially difficult. Throughout their careers, Henley and Frey had shared a unique partnership that transcended typical band dynamics. Frey's absence was felt deeply by Henley, who had always seen him not only as a co-creator, but as an irreplaceable soulmate in music. The thought of losing Frey was a heavy burden, one that shaped Henley's thoughts in the final months before Frey's passing. When Glenn Frey passed away in New York on January 18, 2016, the music world mourned the loss of a legendary figure. His death was widely reported, but for those close to him, including Henley, It was the closing of a personal chapter decades in the making. The passing reminded everyone how fragile life is, even for those who have achieved iconic status. Rather than retreating from the public eye, Henley responded by stepping forward to confirm the shared grief. His statements reflected genuine sorrow and respect, avoiding cliches to instead express a profound sense of loss. He acknowledged Frey's immense contribution to the Eagles and to the broader musical landscape they had helped shape. In the months following, Henley's attitude toward the band's future remained cautious. The loss of Frey raised questions about whether the Eagles could continue without one of their founding pillars. Henley himself admitted that the band, as originally known, no longer existed in the same form. Yet, there was also a determination to maintain the music and legacy they had built together. Frey's son, Deacon Frey, began performing with the Eagles shortly after his father's death. This choice became a symbolic gesture, a way to preserve Glenn's voice and presence on stage in a respectful and meaningful manner. Henley often reflected on this substitution as a bridge rather than a replacement, recognizing the irreplaceable nature of his friend's contributions. The weight of that responsibility would soon define Henley's path moving forward. Henley's role after Frey. With Glenn Frey's passing, Don Henley stepped into a unique and demanding role, guardian of the Eagles' immense legacy. No longer co-leading alongside Frey, Henley bore the responsibility of preserving the band's identity both on and off stage. This new position required him to balance honoring past achievements with managing present realities, a task he approached with quiet resolve rather than grandiosity. Henley's focus shifted toward maintaining the quality and integrity of the Eagles' performances. He eschewed sensational gestures, preferring to let the music itself serve as tribute and remembrance. Rather than seeking the spotlight for mourning, Henley kept the band's sound true to its roots, ensuring that every concert upheld the standards he and Frey had established together. The addition of Deacon Frey to the band symbolized Henley's commitment to continuity without pretense. Bringing Frey's son to perform was less about filling a void and more about honoring the natural lineage of the Eagles' spirit. Henley openly supported this decision, recognizing it as a respectful way to keep Glenn's essence alive in the music and on stage. Henley, however, did not make any clear pronouncements about the group's future, constantly avoiding the issue of whether he would continue or cease. He admitted that the initial Eagles were no longer there, but nevertheless claimed that the collaboration was alive as long as the music was. This guarded posture was a sign of both pragmatism and veneration. Henley was in the public eye, and interviews portrayed a very limited aspect of the whole grieving process. He was never dramatic or nostalgic, but rather concentrated on the quality of the relationship with Frey, their mutual understanding, disputes, and indissoluble bond. His openness brought the listeners closer not only to the music's complexity, but also to the personal losses it implied. Behind the curtains, Henley assumed a larger role in directing the band's decisions and stepped into leading where the share was Frey. He became the Eagles' moral beacon and ultimate judge, navigating the group through the changing industry demands and inner conflicts. This change mirrored the maturing that comes with years of partnership and was also the need to keep the band going. As Henley navigates this path alone, the echoes of their collaboration continue to inspire every step. Legacy and continuing connection. After Glenn Frey's passing, Don Henley became the sole face representing the Eagles, tasked with carrying forward a legacy that had defined a generation. This role demanded more than just musical leadership. It required a careful stewardship of history, emotions, and the expectations of millions. Henley understood that the band was no longer the same without Frey, but believed their music could still speak for both of them, keeping the spirit alive in subtle, powerful ways. Henley's support for bringing Deacon Frey, Glenn's son, into the band was crucial for maintaining that connection. Deacon's presence wasn't about replacing his father, but serving as a living link to the past. a bridge between memories and present performances. This choice was deeply personal, reflecting Henley's commitment to honoring Frey's memory with respect and grace. On stage, Deacon's voice reignited fragments of Glenn's spirit, moving audiences while allowing Henley to share the spotlight with history itself. Since 2017, the Eagles have continued to tour with an adjusted lineup, including Deacon Frey and Vince Gill on lead vocals. These changes illustrate Henley's careful balancing act, preserving the band's signature sound while accepting the inevitable evolution that time brings. Henley's approach is neither to expand aggressively nor to seek reinvention, but to offer authentic musical experiences that celebrate the band's deep roots. The Eagles' 2024 residency at the Sphere in Las Vegas was a clear indication of their still great popularity. Henley, at almost 80 years old, is still the main reason for the high standard in the show's music and overall presentation. He would rather safeguard the legacy before it decays into nothingness than seek commercial expansion. His commitment, which is reflected in every part of the residency and signifies a lifetime invested in these songs and their meanings, is even magnified by the Eagles' presence in Las Vegas. Power struggles within the band are now a thing of the past. Henley is today's moral compass, the last word on important matters, though it is no longer an overlord's way. Rather, Henley has taken the role of Frey, who used to be the voice of the band and is now the final decision-maker in a non-controlling manner. He frequently refers to it not as a duty, but as a way to celebrate the partnership they have had since the very beginning, thus ensuring that their story continues to be told rightly. Henley's story is one of loss, resilience, and unwavering commitment to a friendship and music that shaped history. As fans, we remember not just the songs, but the bonds behind them. If you've felt the power of the Eagles' legacy, please like this video and subscribe to keep their story alive.